When we say we're going to do something at Rocket Lab, we do it.
We have reached orbit in just 5 years, which is faster than any company in history.
This is not a revolution of the big. This is a revolution of the small.
We're finally doing it. In this video, we'll be answering the age-old question, which is better, Astra or Rocket Lab? If you don't obsessively track the space industry like I do, you might not know the major differences between Rocket Lab and Astra. However, their approaches to space travel are quite different, so we'll spend the first part of this video exploring the different philosophies and strategies of each company. Then, at the end, I will reveal my own thesis as to which one I think is the better investment. Timestamps are in the description. Let's go. We'll start with Rocket Lab, which was founded in 2006 by engineer Peter Beck. They first reached orbit in January of 2018 with their Electron rocket and listed on the NASDAQ in August 2021 under the ticker symbol RKLB. They describe themselves as an end-to-end space company delivering reliable launch services, spacecraft, satellite components, and on-orbit management. Covering the services that Rocket Lab provides, we have to start with the backbone of the company, the Electron rocket. Despite the Electron being Rocket Lab's first orbital rocket, the company did not shy away from incorporating some revolutionary innovations into the design. Electron represents several industry firsts, notably the first orbital rocket made primarily of carbon composites, the first orbital rocket powered by 3D printed rocket engines, and the first orbital rocket to be powered by an electric pump cycle. All three of these revolutionary design choices were made with Electron's minuscule size taken into consideration. Carbon composites make the most sense on small rockets where every kilogram of mass saved is so much more important. 3D printing the 10 Rutherford engines that power the Electron allows a small company like Rocket Lab to produce a high volume of engines without the need for a massive complex factory or elaborate, cumbersome supply chains. Lastly, with an engine as tiny as the Rutherford, Rocket Lab is able to save the hassle of manufacturing incredibly tiny turbopumps which would represent a point of failure and instead go for a simpler, easier electric pump cycle. All of these design choices come together to create a mighty workhorse in the small launch sector. And as soon as next year, Electron could become a reusable launch vehicle as newer versions are being fitted with a thermal coating to survive re-entry, and Rocket Lab has already conducted the necessary tests to catch Electron mid-air with a helicopter. Hopefully we get to see them catch and refly a booster as early as next year. Now, let's move on and talk about exactly what makes Rocket Lab an end-to-end company, as it's a big part of Rocket Lab's philosophy and what makes them an attractive investment. They are not just a launch provider. They have been a pioneer of vertical integration with their Photon spacecraft. Photon is the third stage, or kick stage, of the Electron rocket, but it's also a fully contained satellite bus. This means it has everything a satellite needs to function: power, maneuverability, and communication. That means that some of Rocket Lab's customers don't have to build their own satellites. They can just tell Rocket Lab what sensors and instruments to install on a Photon, and then they're ready to launch. This saves money and time for the customer and allows Rocket Lab to make a bigger profit per launch. Rocket Lab is also a vendor of state-of-the-art satellite components such as star trackers, satellite radios, separation systems, etc. They've achieved this through the acquisition of component manufacturers, allowing them to further increase the margins of the space systems portion of their business, as well as extract that extra bit of alpha from each customer they serve. But now we get to talk about perhaps the most exciting thing that Rocket Lab is currently working on, their Neutron rocket, which will launch in 2024. Like Electron, it will be made from carbon composites, but will stand at a whopping 40 meters tall. Neutron will be powered by 7 Archimedes engines powered by methane and liquid oxygen. It will lift 8 tons to low Earth orbit while still being able to land back on the pad. Rocket Lab has learned from all the mistakes that SpaceX made with their Falcon 9 and will thus be able to build a better rocket for a lower development cost. If you would like to know exactly how Neutron is better than Falcon 9, we made a whole video on it. Go check it out. One more important thing to note is that Peter Beck is on record stating that Rocket Lab would never build a big rocket and would never build a reusable rocket. But when it became obvious that the best thing for the company was to change course, Beck did not hesitate to eat his hat. Literally. So, in summary, Rocket Lab is not only a company building state-of-the-art rockets with cutting-edge satellite technology, nor is it only a fully integrated space systems company serving the customer every step of the way. First and foremost, Rocket Lab is a company that is not afraid to think outside the box and not afraid to change their minds when they see a better path for the company to take. But I think that's enough about Rocket Lab. Now let's hear from a company with a very different plan for reaching prominence within the space industry. Astra was founded in 2016, but really dates back to 2005 when it was an aerospace research and design firm that was known as Ventions. Astra just reached orbit in November 2021, and while they only have one successful launch under their belt compared to Rocket Lab's 20, they still have a plan to surpass Rocket Lab in the coming years. Don't be fooled by the fact that Astra is a smaller company with a smaller track record. They still have quite a few attributes that make them a force to be reckoned with. Most notably is their incredible leadership in the form of Chris Kemp. Peter Beck may have grown up building model rockets, but Chris Kemp got his engineering degree from the University of Alabama in Huntsville. That means he got his higher education right near the heart of NASA, Marshall Space Flight Center. Speaking of NASA, Kemp had a 5-year career there, and it only took him 4 years to rise to the position of CTO. That's right, Chief Technology Officer of all of NASA at age 33. Kemp is also a serial entrepreneur, helping found Escapia, Nebula, and OpenStack. Kemp is pouring his experience into becoming chairman and CEO of Astra, where he is guiding them in a very different direction from Rocket Lab. Let's start by talking about their rockets. Astra has completely rejected the prospect of pursuing cutting-edge technologies with their rockets. You won't see any advanced materials such as carbon fiber or sophisticated manufacturing techniques such as 3D printing in any of their hardware, as they live and die by the motto, simple scales. Their rockets are built from sheet aluminum and they're held together by rivets. They are built this way so that Astra can achieve a launch cadence faster than anything the space industry has seen before. They plan to launch monthly in 2022, weekly in 2023, and daily by 2025. Moreover, they will not target 100% reliability. They plan to reach 98 to 99% reliability, which they see as good enough to provide a quality service. Another thing that sets Astra's rockets apart from Rocket Lab's is their portability. Astra plans to pack up their whole rocket as well as the necessary launch equipment into a couple of shipping containers, allowing them to launch from anywhere in the world. Such a capability will be extremely valuable when launching satellites to hundreds of unique orbits, as Astra intends to do. Astra is not the antithesis to Rocket Lab in every respect, though, as they are currently working on a satellite bus of their own to compete with Photon. They have also recently filed a license to deploy 13,000 satellites in a constellation to provide the globe with low-latency broadband internet. We don't have a whole lot of information on this constellation yet, so how exactly they plan to compete head-to-head with SpaceX's Starlink constellation remains to be seen. And with that, you are now up to speed on what both of these companies have planned for the future. So now, let's get to which one is a better investment. Okay, so before I go into my thesis on which one is the better stock, I want to briefly acknowledge that no matter what I say, the comment section on this video is going to be an absolute fucking war zone. So you know what? Go at it! Debate as much as you possibly can. Our video on Neutron had 55 comments, so let's beat that. I'm not going to be participating in the discussions, but I will make a video reacting to the comments, which should be a lot of fun and maybe a bit educational for all of us. So if I had to pick which stock is king, I simply must go with Rocket Lab. And the reasoning behind my decision isn't as simple as, oh, they have more experience, or oh, they're planning to reuse their rockets. If the space shuttle program taught us anything, it's that reusability is not the end-all be-all of rocket design. The true reasoning behind my preference is simple. Rocket Lab is more focused on setting themselves up for a prolonged career in the space industry, while Astra is more focused on becoming profitable quickly at the expense of long-term planning. This concept will not be new to you if you have read The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. It is a book that every CEO, investor, and employee should read, and it basically details how companies that plan their businesses around infinite time horizons ultimately outperform those that focus on success merely on the scale of quarters or years. Right now, Astra is doing everything in their power to achieve a daily launch cadence by 2025. While this is certainly a worthy goal, it is a finite one. Astra has a bold business model centered around simplicity and scalability, which they are committing to with 100% confidence. This can be a good thing for a company, as they can single-mindedly dedicate their efforts towards a well-defined goal and operate efficiently. However, this means that the success of Astra's business model is contingent on 3 assumptions about the space industry that must never change. Here are those 3 assumptions. 1. That Astra stays ahead of all other small launchers in both affordability and speed of launch. 2. That demand stays high enough for Astra to conduct daily launches, but low enough that a company with a bigger rocket doesn't come along with a rideshare program to compete for those customers. And 3. That the cost of reusing rockets never falls below the cost of cheaply mass-producing them. If any of those assumptions are broken at any point in the future, Astra is toast. I don't know if any of those assumptions will be broken, but as an investor, I can't confidently bet that they won't. That is the cost of having a business strategy as narrow and rigid as Astra's. Now, by comparison, Rocket Lab is a diversified company that isn't afraid to change its mind and adapt to the rapidly changing marketplace. Peter Beck is on record saying that Rocket Lab would never build a big rocket and would never embrace reusability. But as soon as Beck realized that the small launch market was getting overcrowded with new players such as Astra, Firefly, Relativity, ABL, and Virgin Orbit, he knew that his company would have to change course in order to ensure its survival. To symbolize him changing his mind, he publicly, literally, ate his hat. This is exactly what you need to see from a space company. All it takes is a quick look into the past to show that the space industry never pans out quite how we expect it to, despite our best predictions. Thus, while you're always welcome to speculate on which strategies will pan out long term, the only way to reliably invest in such a complex and rapidly changing industry is to choose the companies with the greatest ability to change course and evolve to meet exactly what the market demands. Now, there's so much I have to say about Rocket Lab and Astra and how they compare, so I will probably make more videos on them in the future. However, what I covered in this video is what I deem to be the most relevant and actionable information when it comes to picking which stock to leave your money with long term. I still think Astra has the potential to make a lot of money near term, so we'll still be tracking them actively and taking every opportunity to trade their ticker symbol. Once again, leave all your opinions in the comments, I want to hear them all, and subscribe so you can catch the video of me sifting through the battlefield you guys leave behind. I'm Nathan, an undergraduate freshman at Harvard University, and I would like to personally thank you for watching.